How's it going, guys? Oddly Unorthodox. We're here with Total Warhammer 3 multiplayer, and we have something a bit different. I'm hitting you with a Bretonia game today, something you guys probably didn't expect. Not really in my normal list of factions that I would play, but I'm trying to learn more factions to get a bit more of a diverse gameplay for you guys. So we're running some Grail Knights, some Grail Guardians, Leon Logker, 2 normal trebuchets, 2 men-at-arms with shields, and 2 peasants as the starter force. This is domination. I do have a Skaven ally, and we're against Skaven and the Empire. Not very fitting in the slightest, but it should make quite an interesting game. Now, Bretonia is one of the harder factions in my opinion, purely because it requires a bit more management to play. You know, with the toggling of the lance formations, the cavalry, stuff like that. Things that I don't even get right the majority of the time, let alone 50-50. But the thing I really do enjoy about Bretonia, and why I suggest you guys pick them up, is their ability to create pressure through vast amounts of cavalry is insane. I really wish I could show you what I brought in my reinforcements. But we've got a Grail Relique, just to sort of buff the men-at-arms with shields and the sort of peasant mobs. I just brought it because I like it. I don't think I brought it because it was useful. I just brought it because I like it. So the idea of this build is, first we figure out where the enemy's going, where are they sort of moving a lot of their key pieces, and what's their game plan. So Skaven's moving up to this location, so that means he wants to turtle point 1, leaving point 2 and 3 to me. Now, the Empire and the Skaven have split their forces to come to the bottom, meaning I need to take my fights carefully, because if I bide my time down here and don't give both objectives to them, there's no reason that the Skaven shouldn't vastly win the fight at the top, if that makes sense. So what we do is we move our cavalry round. Now, the cavalry is going to be needed on the bottom end of the field, and we carefully move up. We usually on long curves take some shots from the avalanche mortars, because they don't really hurt him very much. They're not great against characters, they're great against squads. But you want to get these offline as soon as possible, because as you can see, they do quite a fair amount of damage to infantry, even though they're just peasant mobs. So we bring out some questing knights as well, because I wanted some more anti-infantry. So we've got anti-large and 2 squads of anti-infantry, and then we go in. We decide that actually now we want to push our advantage as the Skaven push up, because the Skaven up north have got to be answered for, and the Empire started sending out Hellstorm rocket batteries. As a Bretonian, you love it when your enemy has loads of artillery, because as you can see here, we're going to use the more elite of our cavalry against their chaff infantry to dictate what fights I want. So we're just going to use the questing knights to break into those spearmen and run through, using the mass like I told you, to disrupt that squad and take on the slingers as well. Multiple charge in different squads, and then we run through. And then this second squad, we're going to run through to hit the avalanche mortars. Knightly on Lonker finds the Grey Seer, being careful to not get collapsed on by too many great swords or focused, but we are going to goon that one there, and then we're going to use these Grail Knights to hit in here. You can see that the 2 charges broke off them. We do go to dodge that, but it seems like he cancelled it. He's trying to run his avalanche mortars back, but we've now got objective 2 under our control, which, you know, more than happy about. Number 1's in our control as well, and I've broke the sort of deadlock they had on number 3. These Grail Knights, I'm happy to trade them for the avalanche mortars, you know, shut down the avalanche mortars as soon as possible. And we're still running through, charging, being annoying, you know, hit some of those. We've got the squad of Grail Guardians hitting the great swords, and we're creating a great big pit fight here, meaning that both objectives are not being collapsed on. It's easy for players to... I mean, he drops a final transmutation on me, but it hits some men-at-arms and some peasant mobs, so not great value for how much a final transmutation costs. The final transmutation would have been better in this area, hitting both squads of Grail Knights and Grail Guardians. That would have been more worthwhile as cost. You can see you got nearly no value for it. So now we send some knights over, because we're going to take on this victory location. The Grey Sea of Ruins been caught out. The knights are breaking the silver bullets now. And as you can see, here's the strategy. The enemy has now got to deal with all these knights charging their lines before they can even think about taking on the objectives. So now we're already gaining an advantage, because now we've got this objective coming under ours. These Grail Knights are just going to make sure those clan rats break. And then we're going to send Leon Loncoeur to make sure that this Grey Seer does not come back. And then we bring in Knights of the Lion-Hearted, some anti-large, and we're just going to use them to hit some Plague Claw catapults and stuff like that. Just be genuinely annoying. It does manage to break off my Grail Guardians, but you can see they've made a fair amount of value already, and they will come back. And then you can see we are just picking off little parts of his army, dragging his forces everywhere, because now we can't spare any to take these 2 points. He's trying to push some units up, knowing that they're now triple capped and the points are going to go up very quickly. So we make sure the Avalanche Mortars don't come back. Now we want to get the Grail Knights would be able to kill the Doom Wheel, in all fairness, but these guys are straight onto the Plague Claw catapults, taking out the artillery. And as you can see, it's becoming a right nightmare for them to try and secure all of their lines, because there's just too much for them to deal with. They can't answer everything while their lines are being ran through like this. They can't set up the firing lines, which the Empire and the Skaven want. You know, they really want to have that advantage. So in a second, we noticed that he has pulled out one Sunmaker and 2 Hellstorm rocket batteries. That's fine if they don't get attacked or breached, but against cavalry factions, that's quite risky. And we, at the minute, we're just running through, causing as much terror as possible. The questing Knights are just running through, breaking off the catapults. We've got Knights of the Lion-Hearted breaking off these catapults. And this is, I've taught you guys a lot about pressure and constantly telling you guys, oh, you need to pressure this, you need to pressure that. And the reason I try and get it through, because every faction has a way for it to build pressure. Some factions, I will admit, don't do it as well as others, and are more reactive factions than proactive factions. I'd say the factions that pressure the best are more proactive factions that have strong cavalry, ambush tactics, stuff like that, that really wants them to make the first move. I'd say factions like the Dwarves, the Empire, the Skaven are more reactive factions, and in fact they have artillery, want to sit back and they want to see what you do first. They want you to come to them. But as you can see, we do get our Grail Guardians back, or are these the Grail Guardians, and now we're in the Sunmaker. We're going to hit both Hellstorm rocket batteries and we're going to shut them down. But you can really see from here that we are constantly in the black back line, messing with the great swords, and every time he moves to take a point, like he's trying to kill the Grail Relique here, I ran that off the point in the hopes that it would keep him busy off the point, and it actually seems to be. Weirdly enough. And then we bring out some more knights and we send them down to the bottom to continue our hold on point 3. And you can see at this point how many points we're rapidly gathering. They really can't keep up with... That's a really interesting conga line of questing knights chasing that Doom Wheel. That's quite funny. So we turn back around, you know, we don't really want to chase them off to the far corners of the map, because ideally we want to be holding the objectives. You can see they managed to capture objective 3, but straight away we get some more horses down and straight on top of the Poison Wing Globadiers, not allowing them to abuse their ranged benefits. You know, where they break squads off, we make sure we do good damage. We make sure it's worthwhile trades. You know, we charge down here, we break into these Eshin Triads and straight into all the Skaven, breaking their leadership. The good joys about Skaven is you hit them from a rear charge and they just break. They really do fold under the pressure of the cavalry. You know, 2 squads of cavalry there utterly broke all of them and wrestled the point back for us. We've got some men at arms just sat on that point, holding tight. Always worth bringing some individual infantry just so they can hold points. I have seen Bretonnian armies with infantry, minimalistic cavalry and trebuchets work quite well, but I was going more for a really high pressure, fast attack build which the enemy couldn't really deal with. So I bought Royal Pegasus Knights as such, and we send those over to clean up the rest of the Hellstorm rocket batteries. We did break 2 off, broke 1 off. I know 2, that one did break off as well. It looks like they've lost all their cannons. I know they've got some left, they've just not re-grabbed them back. But that's fine, we're just constantly pressuring their ranged. And this is the big bonus to Bretonnia. It's the same with Slaanesh do this just as well. In the fact that Slaanesh has so much mobility. You can see here, the enemy brought out the Hammer of the Witches. And straight away Leon Loncoeur's on it, with some questing knights, making sure it can't set up and shoot. You know, that's 1100 worth of value that's made 350 gold and is leaving. So it's all about trying to attribute as much value as possible. You can see by the points on the side how scary my cavalry has been in comparisons to Skaven, who's really not had to do much. My cavalry has just wreaked havoc. You can see the Pegasus Knights have now stopped that Hellstorm rocket battery. All 3 of them are offline. That point's held. This point's held by a Lonely Grail Relique. And the Questing Knights are now just hammering home. You know, these ones are hitting the Skaven Slave Slingers. These guys are now shutting down the Poison Wing Globadiers. You can just see that it's the utter domination. And I've got this many suppliers, so I don't know if there's much more I can summon. I think the vast majority of my units. Oh no, there is some things I could summon. Another half an army, but I think it was a lot of infantry and stuff that had already gone, like the peasant squads. But as you can see, this is really how I like to play Bretonnia. Really get in the muck, the muck of it, and make sure that the enemy doesn't have a chance to formulate strategies against you. Yes, they've took the top point, and that's fine. We've got the 2nd and the 3rd. At this point, they're going to have to triple cap us to win. We could just turtle 1 point and we'd still win. And you can see that Royal Pegasus Knights are taking damage, but I'm literally just using them to harrow units which I don't really want to deal with or allow to shoot. Regents of the Renown units, ranged units. You know, they're really good at impacting. You know, we're taking down the Slingers there. Leon Loncoeur's chased off the Hellstorm battery. We're taking out the Flagellants for some reason. Why not? Because we can. And as you can see, we drop the Grail Knights again and the Questing Knights. The Grail Knights are now unit rank 5 from how much they've done. Really done quite a bit, and we're going to send them straight into the Doom Wheel because they are anti-large to get rid of that. But I'm pretty sure they surrender in a second due to, obviously, that point's being recaptured, the middle's captured, the middle's ours, and they can't really always help it. Abomination, I didn't see that in the game. I love this model. You really don't see enough of them. I would like a clan molder list. But back to the game at hand. It really does just showcase the ability of the Bretonnians. There is a guy called the True Bretonnian who plays a lot of tournaments. If you do feel like wanting to learn how to play Bretonnia, the likes of YouTubers like Turin and stuff like that, he casts the tournament games that he plays in, and he is an excellent Bretonnia player. More so than me. I'm average by far, maybe even below average. But I hope I do showcase to you guys what a cavalry faction, heavy faction, can perform like. You know, you're seeing me doing triple the damage of this Skaven here just because I'm in their lines and I'm constantly causing havoc. But you can see here, we get up, we summon the Trebuchet for no reason because we can. Use the points that we've got, and that's the value. Let's have a look at some of the values that we got on our units and where the real money came from. So the Trebuchets got shut down dead early by these guys, the Death Squad, because they were just hidden, I didn't see them. But we're looking at 2,665 value on those Grail Knights. The Grail Guardians 2,500. Now these guys did their job, they're literally just there to be infantry and annoying. And let's have a look. 910 value on those Questing Knights, 936, 1,047, 1,200, 1,100. You know, decent values. You could see where the strength came from and where the winning game came from. It's been oddly unorthodox, and you know the rules. If there's any videos you'd like to see, any armies you'd like to see showcased, maybe builds that you've thought up and thought, oh, I'd like to see that used, I'll give it my best go. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.